The devil is tempting me? No, now. Not every bad idea comes out of nowhere. Sometimes a feeling of being pulled into something wrong or facing an intense moral dilemma raises a question. Am I being tempted by the devil? The idea of diabolical temptation has existed for centuries, present in different cultures and religions. But how to recognize if these impulses come from something external or are only internal conflicts? In this video, we will explore signs that many traditions point to as evidence of temptation and how to interpret these experiences. 1. Subtle voices and insistent thoughts. Many people report moments when negative thoughts come out of nowhere, almost like internal whispers. It's not about hearing voices literally, but a kind of persistent mental dialogue that encourages behaviors you would normally avoid. These thoughts may seem strangely convincing, appealing to personal weaknesses or desires. A classic example would be that inner voice that tries to justify small lies or selfish actions, creating perfect excuses for error. In Christian traditions, this phenomenon is described as a temptation of the enemy, something that acts subtly, exploiting doubts and fears. 2. Feeling guilty for no apparent reason. Another common sign is the presence of intense guilt. Even when there is no clear reason for it, the mind is filled with questioning and excessive self-collection, creating a cycle of anguish. For some, this is seen as a form of spiritual oppression, an attempt to paralyze a person emotionally and drive them away from their inner peace. This kind of experience can manifest itself in moments of important decision, or when you try to approach something that you consider sacred. Extreme doubt and the feeling of inadequacy are often interpreted as barriers created by temptation. 3. Distance from what does you good. Another indication pointed by many traditions is a gradual departure from practices that bring balance and serenity. This can be reflected in neglecting spirituality, cutting ties with people who offer support, or even avoiding environments that previously provided emotional comfort. Often, this detachment does not occur abruptly, but rather as a subtle process. Small daily decisions lead to progressive disconnection, creating the illusion that you are alone in your inner battles. 4. Sudden and disproportionate conflicts. Another sign often associated with temptation is the emergence of unexpected and intense conflicts. Discussions that start with trivial reasons quickly turn into serious fights, with emotions to the skin. This kind of situation can create a heavy atmosphere, as if something invisible is feeding discord. In some beliefs, this is seen as an attempt to sow disunity, alienating people and weakening important ties. The feeling of injustice, uncontrolled anger, and inability to see the other's point of view are signs that something beyond normal may be at stake. 5. Sudden discouragement and feeling of emptiness. Extreme discouragement, which arises without apparent reason, is another indication that many traditions associate with negative influence. A day that starts well may suddenly be taken by a wave of sadness or apathy. Nothing seems to make sense, and even the activities that once gave pleasure become heavy. This emotional state can be seen as an attempt to undermine your willpower, cause you to give up on your goals, and stay away from people who could offer support. Emotional isolation in these moments can amplify even more the feeling of loneliness and abandonment. 6. Disturbing dreams and strange sensations at night. Many cultures believe that temptation and spiritual oppression manifest themselves during sleep. Intense dreams, filled with fear or obscure figures, are often interpreted as warning signs. Waking up in the middle of the night with a feeling of being observed or feel a weight on the body are experiences described by those who believe to be under negative influence. These nocturnal episodes usually leave a feeling of extreme tiredness when waking up, as if the whole night had been an invisible battle. For many, this is a clear sign that something needs to be addressed, whether in the spiritual or emotional field. 7. Increased temptations and addictions. Another important sign is the sudden growth of desires and impulses that are difficult to control, especially those related to addictions or self-destructive behaviors. This can range from compulsion for food, alcohol, or drugs to more subtle behaviors, such as extreme procrastination or self-sabotage. Many traditions interpret this increase as a way to weaken willpower and create a cycle of dependency. The curious thing is that these impulses usually arise in moments of emotional vulnerability, such as after a disappointment or during periods of intense stress. 8. Loss of purpose and meaning. The feeling of existential emptiness is also seen as a hint that something is trying to divert you from your path. You can start with doubts about your own worth, the loss of interest in things that used to bring joy, or the feeling that nothing you do matters. This state of mind creates a fog over reality, making it difficult to see positive perspectives. Many beliefs see this as an attempt to divert a person from their greater purpose, weakening their connection with what gives them strength and balance. 9. paralyzing fear and feeling of presence. Perhaps one of the most disturbing signs is the feeling that you are not alone, even when there is no one around. This may come with chills, a weight in the environment, or even the impression that something passed to the corner of the eye. In times of greater emotional vulnerability, this type of experience is interpreted as a sign that negative forces are trying to exert influence. The intense and paralyzing fear, which arises without logical explanation, is seen as a tool to weaken courage and mental clarity. 10. Rejection of the sacred. This is perhaps one of the most intriguing and, for many, more worrying signs. The rejection of the sacred is not only questions about faith, something natural and even healthy, but a deep and inexplicable discomfort before symbols, practices, or spiritual environments. It can begin in a subtle way, in discomfort when listening to a prayer, a restlessness when entering a temple, or even a feeling of suffocation before rituals or religious objects. Some people report a kind of internal resistance, as if something pulls them away whenever they try to reconnect with their spirituality. Others feel a sudden aversion to what had previously brought them comfort, as if something invisible was creating a barrier between them and spiritual practice. In many religious traditions, this is seen as a clear indication of negative influence. The idea is that this rejection does not come from the person himself, but from something external that tries to remove him from his source of strength and protection. For these beliefs, the more the spiritual connection is weakened, the more vulnerable a person becomes to energies or influences that desire their weakening. On the other hand, from a psychological point of view, this repulsion can be a reflection of internal conflicts or traumas related to faith, which reinforces the importance of understanding these sensations with empathy and without judgment. Whatever the origin, the departure from what once represented peace and balance is a warning sign that should not be ignored. Recognizing this distance is a first step to regain balance. Seeking support from trusted people, talking to a spiritual guide, or even reflecting in silence on these feelings can help break through this invisible barrier and regain inner peace. So what does all this mean? Being tempted or noticing signs that seem to come from something greater than yourself does not necessarily mean that the devil is lurking. Many of these experiences may reflect internal conflicts, deep fears, or even your body's responses to stress and anxiety. However, in many spiritual traditions, these signs are taken seriously as warnings that something invisible may be trying to divert you from your path. The important thing is not to ignore these feelings. If you have identified with some of the signs we discussed, the next step is to seek balance and clarity. This may involve practicing prayer, meditation, or simply talking to someone you trust, be a friend, a spiritual counselor, or a mental health professional. Each person finds their own way to deal with these sensations, and the most important thing is not to feel alone on this journey. Often the real battle is not in external forces, but within ourselves. Understanding these moments of doubt and temptation can be an opportunity for growth and inner strengthening. If there's something trying to divert you, the best answer is to reinforce your convictions, connect with what brings peace, and move forward with purpose. Now, I want to know, have you ever been through something like this? How did you deal with these feelings? Share in the comments. And if this video brought some insight, do not forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel. See you next.